Hey guys, welcome to Bible Bound. Today is day 5, and if this is your first video that you're seeing from me, I would recommend watching 1 through 5 just so then you can get a general idea of what we're doing. Today we are starting at Genesis 14 verse 1, and we'll be ending at Genesis 17 verse 27. All right, let's go. At the time when Arphanel was king of Shinar, Arkanok was Elasar, Kinnerah king, and Elmo and Tidal king of Goimen. These kings went to war against Bera king of Sodom, Bersha king of Gorama, Sinaba king of Admah, Sheber king of Zeboim, and king of Bela, that is Zoar. All these latter kings, joined forces in the valley of Sedom, that is the Dead Sea Valley. For 12 years they had been subject to Chemalor, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Caramel and the kings allied with him and went out and defeated the Rephites in Ostramo Carneum, the Zuites in Ham, the Emites in Shavet Kirithaim, and the Horites in the hill of Seir. As far as Elpar near the desert, they turned back and went to Ishma, that is Kadesh, and they conquered the whole territory of the Alchemites, as well as the Amorites, who were living in the Hamazon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom, king of Gorma, and the king of Ada, the king of Zoimen, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, marched up and drew out the battle lines in the valley of Siddim against Chemalor, king of Edom, Tidal king of Gormum, Adamel king of Shinar, and Eric king of Elasar. 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and when kings of Sodom and Gorma fled, some of the men fell into them, and rest fled to the hills. The 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gorma, and all their food. Then they went away. They also carried off Abram's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. A man who escaped came and reported this to Abram the Hebrew. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Marmari and Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and Aner, all of whom were allied with Abram. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack and then routed them, pursuing as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. He received all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions. Together, the women and the other people after Abram returned from defeating Chemalor, and the kings allied with him. The king of Sodom came to meet him in the valley of Seba, that is the king's valley. Then Meshach, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise to be God Most High, and who delivered your enemies into your hand." Then Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. And that the king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself." But Abram said to the king of Sodom, "With raised hand I have sworn an oath to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or a strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, 'I made Abram rich.' I will accept nothing what my men have eaten in the share that belongs to the men who went with me to Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them have their share." The Lord's covenant with Abram. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your great reward." But Abram said, "Sovereign Lord, what can you give me, since I remain childless, and the one who I'll inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him, This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh, and blood will be in the heir. He took him outside and said, Look up at the sky and count the stars, if indeed you shall count them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it him to his righteousness. He also said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur and Chaldeans to give you this land and take possession of it. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possessions of it? So the Lord said to him, Bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Abram brought all these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the halves opposite of each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, Know for certain that 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at good old age. In the 4th generation, your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites have not yet reached its full measure. When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between two pieces. On the day that the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said, To your descendants I give this land, in the Wadi of Egypt, in the great river the Euphrates, the land of the Canaanites, the Kezites, the Comadaces, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Raphites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashes, and the Jebusites, Hagar and Ishmael. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abram agreed to what Sarai said. So after Abram had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his slave. He slept with Hagar, and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Then Sarai said to Abram, You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me. Your slave is in your hands, Abram said. Do with her whatever you think best. And Sarah mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring that made it besides the road to Shur. And she said, Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going? I am running away from my mistress Sarai, she answered. The angel of the Lord told her, Go back to your mistress and submit it to her. The angel added, It will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. The angel of the Lord also said to her, You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. He will live in hostility towards all his brothers. She gave the name to the Lord, who spoke to her. You are the God who sees for me, she said. I have now seen the one who calls me. That was why the well was called Bir Lahai Roi. It is still there between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son she had born. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael, the covenant of the circumcision. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am God Almighty. Walk before me faithfully and be blameless. And then I will make my covenant between me and you, and will greatly increase your numbers. Abram fell face down, and God said to him, As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham, for I have made you the father of many nations. I will make you very fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you, and your descendants after you for the generations to come, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. The whole land of Canaan, where you now reside as a foreigner, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants after you, and I will be their God. And then God said to Abram, As for you, you must keep my covenant and your descendants after you for the generations to come. This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you, the covenant you are to keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You are to undergo circumcision, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and you for the generations to come. Every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised, including those born in your household or bought with money from a foreigner. Those who are not your offspring, whether born in your household or bought with money, they must be circumcised. My covenant in your flesh is an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who has not been circumcised in the flesh will be cut off from his people. He has also broken my covenant. God also said to Abram, As for Sarai, your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. I will bless her so that she will become the mother of nations. Kings of people will come to her. Abraham fell face down and laughed and said to himself, Will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? And Abraham said to God, If only Ishmael might live under your blessings. Then God said, Yes, but the wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase in his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. But my covenant will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear you by the next time this year. When he had finished speaking with Abram, God went up from him. On that very day, Abram took his son Ishmael and all those born in his household or bought with his money, every male in his household, and circumcised them, as God told him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised, and his son Ishmael was 13. Abraham and his son Ishmael were both circumcised on that very day, and every male in Abraham's household, including those born in his household or bought from a foreigner, was circumcised with him. Okay, guys, that is the end of day 5. So a lot went on then. His wife Sarah, wanted him to have a son or just a child in general. And so she told him, Go to my servant, she will bear you a son. And then after that, she got jealous that he had a son and it wasn't with her. And so he asked God, and now Sarah has borne him a son, Isaac. So, today was a big day. Tomorrow will be day 6, and it's going to be a good one. So, hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and remember, stay holy.